Tonight on Philly Sports Spotlight, the band is already in full effect, and tonight we tell you who's in and who's out among Philadelphia's City Six. Bernard Hopkins has defied the odds and rewritten the boxing history book. So what's next for the Executioner? And we drop in on the Philadelphia Soul as they get ready for their Arena League opener. And good evening, everyone. Welcome to Philly Sports Spotlight. I'm Phil Andrews, your tour guide, if you will, for the next half hour or so, as we kick things off by navigating through the Philadelphia College basketball landscape. With that said, we'd like to welcome to the Philly Sports Spotlight desk a basketball guru, Jeremy Treatment. If you probably heard the name, he does a lot with high school hoops, and your knowledge of high school and college hoops is pretty extensive. That's why you're here today. This is the time of year when guys like you are like all geeked out, right?
Oh, yeah. Isn't this the great time of year, not only with college but with high school? But the college scene, it looked very bleak about a month ago, but now 3 city teams look like they could get in, 2 for sure, I think.
Well, let's talk about those city teams because in the last week or so, 2 of those teams came up with huge victories, victories that could very well show that NCAA selection committee some love. The first team is Villanova. Did it again for the 3rd time this year. Talk about their big win this weekend.
Villanova really shocked a lot of people with that big win over Georgetown after so many disappointing losses like Seton Hall and the 2 games against Providence. There you see Ryan Arcidiacono, the freshman who's kind of led that team. Darren Hilliard, a good 3-point shooter. Villanova, I think this is Jay Wright's best coaching job ever. I honestly believe that, even better than the 2009 Final Four team. They've really done a nice job.
Yeah, and everyone wondered what was going on out there on the main line, whether or not Jay had lost his touch, was he not getting the right recruits? But you're right, when you have a team sitting where they were early in the year and to come back and do some of the things that they did this year. I mean, if I'm sitting on the selection committee, I got to give the Wildcats some love and let them in.
Louisville, Syracuse, and Georgetown, all when they were ranked in the top 5, and they beat them all. I think you got to give it to them, especially after the way they overcame that tough start.
Now, no bias here at all, because the next team we're going to talk about is very, very close to your heart. Now, of course, is the Temple Owls, and they've been steady pretty much all year. Fran has done another great job, but they also came up with a big win recently.
They really did. The game Sunday against VCU, they just played outstanding after a shaky start. They jumped out 9-0, and then all of a sudden they were down 16, and then they solved VCU's havoc defense, the press. They controlled the game, they settled down, and they just did an amazing job. The man with the ball right there, Khalif Wyatt, number 1 with 30 points, and probably their biggest win of the year. I think it cemented their entree into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and like you said, the big thing about that particular game is they were down 16. Teams are either going to give in or the other team just going to like cruise and then let the other team come back in. And Fran probably took them into the locker room and said, hey, fellas, come on, man, you want to go to the tournament, right? So they got that going now. We're talking about the Philadelphia City Six, and we've always known it as the Big Five, but we've always got to show our Drexel Dragons some love. And of the 6 teams that started the year, right now it looks like 2, possibly maybe 3, but the other 3 are out, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I think Temple's definitely in. I think Villanova's definitely in. And I think LaSalle right now is in. If they lose that first round Atlantic 10 game against Butler, we presume they're going to play Butler, they could be on shaky ground. You got to remember, Drexel this time last year and about 6 years ago, Drexel had beaten Louisville. We thought Drexel was going to be in both of those times, especially last year. They didn't get in. There's not a lot of people in that NCAA committee, in my opinion, that are going to have a lot of love for LaSalle, but I think LaSalle's body of work this year, they deserve to be in.
Well, if we can see that screen one more time, the team, of course, at the bottom, the only way you get in if you're Penn is to win the Ivy League. And Penn has had some down years as far as the Ivy League is concerned. So we're looking at definitely the bottom 3 teams are out. We're hoping that they give some love to LaSalle, but we can expect Temple and Villanova to do some dancing, right?
Well, let me say one thing about St. Joe's. They were predicted to be the winner of the Atlantic 10 Conference this year. They have a lot of talent. They're a very good team, but they're not a great team. The top 5 teams in the Atlantic 10 are better than St. Joe's, but St. Joe's, if they win that Atlantic 10 tournament, and I wouldn't say that's an impossibility, they would go also, but that's a long shot. But I think the first 2 are in. LaSalle, 75-80% in.
We got our fingers crossed. We got a LaSalle student in the studio right now, hoping that is the case. All right. Now, the one thing about watching college basketball here in the city of brotherly love is there's some great talent, both from Philadelphia and from outside. And you've got 2 teams. You got your first team, All City Six, and your second team, All City Six. Let's hear who you've picked.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Khalif Wyatt from Temple has cemented his Player of the Year status for the All-City Six with the way he's played in big games, the Kansas game, the Syracuse game, and of course the VCU game with 30 points. I mean, he has just willed that team on his back. Tyreek Dorn would be my runner-up. He had a great year for LaSalle. 2 tough losses at the end of the year to Temple and St. Louis put him second. Everybody else, I would say 3 through 10 is pretty similar. So some of these guys could be first-teamers, some of these guys could be second-teamers. I think Javon Pinkston is the heart and soul of the Villanova team, even though Ryan Arcidiacono may be more valuable and as a freshman may have had more impact. Damian Lee was Drexel's one solid player. And C.J. Aiken's just somebody I really like. His upside's unbelievable. He'll be in the NBA.
And then, of course, that was your first team. This is your second team All-City Six.
Yeah, Massanet coming into the year would have been a first-teamer. He didn't play as well this year as he did last year. Raleigh Hollis Jefferson, I think he's the unsung hero in the entire Big Five, City Six. What he does for that Temple team, you can't look at the stats. He just does everything for that team. He's an all-around player who developed a jump shot this year. Carl Jones had a really nice career, but his senior year didn't go as well as expected. Same with Langston Galloway. So they underachieved a little for St. Joe's, but they still deserve to be on the first or the second team.
Now, as a member of the media covering college basketball in this town, the one thing you have to love is every single one of the coaches that coaches at this level, they're all marvelous coaches.
They are.
And this year, based on the way they coached and what they did this year, you've got a ranking for the coaches as well, right?
Yeah, that changes every 5 seconds. I could go to Dr. John Giannini at LaSalle for what they did this year. Jay Wright, in my opinion, has had his best year at Villanova. Fran Dunphy at Temple, I guess because right now they're 24-8 going into the NCAA tournament and the Atlantic 10 tournament as having the best season so far. I guess you got to give it to Dunphy, but Giannini and Wright were right there. I love Phil Martelli. He's had an unbelievable career at St. Joe's, but I guess even he would admit that he didn't do his best job this year. They had a lot of expectations, and they may fall short and be going to the NIT. Bruiser Flint brings a ton of energy to Drexel, but his team just wasn't as good this year as it's been in the last 3 years. And Jerome Allen, give him time. I think Penn's going to win, but it takes time to really, develop your program, and Fran Dunphy did it for all those years at Penn, and now they're starting from the bottom up, and I think Jerome will get them there.
Sure. Now, you love basketball. Obviously,
I love
you're telling us all about, but your real true love is at the high school level where they're really raw. And there's a couple of players, 5 players that you've picked as the top 5 players in our area, correct?
Yeah. If you haven't followed high school basketball in this area this year, you've missed out because there's 2 potential NBA players. Rashid Jordan, who I think is wherever he decides, he's down to St. John's, Temple, or UCLA. I believe he'll go there for 1 year, and I think he'll be picked in the top 15 of the NBA draft the following year in 2015. Rondé Jefferson is going for a 3-peat at Chester, which is unheard of. Chester's great teams, all the great success. He's the best player on a great team. He's going to Arizona. Brandon Austin could also make the NBA one day. He's going to Providence. Jaquan Newton's just a junior at Newman Goretti. He's a 6'4", 6'5" guard. He's really had a nice year. B.J. Johnson, Syracuse taking him based on potential, and he's leading Lower Merion, which is the second best team in the PIAA this year.
Well, I must say, Mr. Treatman, I think you've served us well here today on Philly Sports Spotlight.
Thank
Before
you.
I let you go, though,
yes,
you're always giving back, and you have a program that gives back to kids who want our jobs. Tell us a little bit about what you got going with sports play-by-play there.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We do 2 main things. We run the high school basketball events all over the country. We just kind of finished our season. There you see our logo. We also have sports broadcasting camps. You can check those out at playbyplaycamps.com. We've had 3,800 kids go through the program since 2002. We're going into our 13th summer, and it's been a world of fun. Both the basketball events and these camps have been my passion, and appreciate you letting me give a little plug for myself there.
Thank you. And listen, because you're here, our trivia, we do a trivia question every week. This trivia question is actually basketball based, and it's based on the Philadelphia City 6 teams. The question is, how many times has Philadelphia's Division I basketball teams reached the Final Four? I was even surprised at this answer, and we'll have that answer for you coming up later on in the show. Also coming up, a visit with the Philadelphia Soul as they get set for their arena football season opener. Stay tuned.